Hi there, I'm Emily Knight, and you're tuning into the Animator's Blueprint. As a student at Animation Mentor and an inspiring animator, I'm excited to share this platform with you where we meet the heroes of animation from DreamWorks, Pixar, and beyond. Each episode is a new adventure filled with career-changing advice, creative inspiration, and the inside scoop from the world's top animation studios. Whether you're just beginning your journey or mastering your craft, this vodcast is your gateway to the animation industry. Let's embark on this creative expedition together. Hello, everybody. Welcome, Zachary, to the vodcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. How has your day been?
It's been good. My kid is sick, which is unfortunate, but taking him to the doctor, not sleeping, it's been fun. First time parents, so yeah, it's been interesting.
You got it, yeah. Hopefully it'll be gone next week. Hopefully it won't.
I'm hoping so. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So with the first question, how did you get into animation and what age did you start?
Yeah, so I want to say I got into it like when I was 13 years old.
Wow.
Like more than 2 decades ago. I was not doing my homework in high school. I was just making fun cartoons on the computer. Mm-hmm. And it didn't occur to me that there was like a program you could take after high school, like in college classes. So I signed up for not online school. That was later. I did a brick and mortar school when I was 19 or 21, I forget. Time is an illusion. But like I did. Can we like redo this? I'm like stumbling my words for some reason.
Yeah, no, you're totally okay.
Yeah. So, my bad. Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. So I'm going to start off with the first question again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. How did you get into animation and what age were you when you started?
So I got into animation when I was like 13 years old. I didn't do my homework at all when I was in high school. I just did I made my own cartoons on the computer. But I didn't take it seriously until I started college around like 19. Where I went to a brick and mortar school, and then right out of college, that's all I did for the last like decade. Yeah.
Animation. Wow. Where did you go? What's brick and mortar?
Brick and mortar. So it's like a traditional like college that I went to. Mm-hmm. I did that for 4 years before I realized I needed more help, and then I signed up for Animation Mentor. Like I'm actually an alumni from 2012.
Oh, awesome. You're an actual student. That's so cool. And you finished all classes and
I did everything, yeah. Like after I finished college, I actually was working for about a year until I realized, man, I really need to work on my stuff. I've been seeing these reels from this random school called Animation Mentor, and I thought, I want to be a part of that. Like, why doesn't my stuff look like that? And so I signed up for the program in 2011 and did every single course up until 2012, and then just kept working after that. It helped a ton.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I realized like my stuff was just not matching with where I wanted to be. And then after I finished the program, it was like boom, happened pretty much immediately. It was pretty life-changing.
Yeah. Wow, what a full circle moment. That's so cool.
And now I'm teaching here.
Now you're a mentor. That's actually really cool. So when did you get your first animation job? Where, how?
So when I was in college, I actually interned for a gaming studio in Portland, Oregon. Okay. And after I finished school, I was lucky enough to get a job with them for about a year. Mm-hmm. That was my very first gig. It was at an outsourcing game studio. Working on like Telltale games and Marvel Studio games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's so cool. Telltale games. I want to start out with video games as well, but video games is very much different than what I first thought I would start out with. So.
For sure, yeah.
But I'm applying to intern for internships everywhere right now. So getting a video game wouldn't be bad.
Absolutely.
What are the best tips for when you apply to jobs?
Honestly, I think the best thing to do, and it doesn't really matter which level you are when it comes to like, you could be a junior, senior, it doesn't really matter. The same process I feel like is the same. Just apply everywhere. Animation, especially nowadays, it's there's not really a place to go for this type of stuff. Back in the day, it used to all be in Southern California. Then when I finished Animation Mentor, all the jobs moved to Canada. And then my classmates that I had in during my time at Animation Mentor, they had to go to like England, China, Spain, like they flew all over the planet for work. And so if you're up for it, I think it's honestly a good idea to just apply everywhere because you never know who's going to bite. I don't think people should put their eggs in one basket, and just apply to that one studio and call it a day because it
Yeah.
might not work. It's super rare for that to happen. But honestly, like if you put all your eggs in one basket, you're just going to set yourself up for not for success, for like the ultimate failure. And
Right.
so just like spread your, show your demo reel off and spread the word to all these different studios and see who bites because you never know. It takes that one job to really propel your career. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, you really never know. Is traveling still frequent, like to different countries within animation?
That's a weird one because I feel like ever since the pandemic happened, they've been doing a lot of remote work.
Got it.
And
Gotcha.
then recently, when I was looking for work, before I got the Sony gig, I applied to like studios in Ireland and Scotland, and they got back to me. And I was thinking, oh, remote work could be possible, but they wanted people in house, and so yeah, I think having to travel for work is still a thing even in today's age.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so cool to go to get a job in China or in Scotland. That's
For
so
real.
sick. Yeah. So I'm in Animation Mentor right now. I'm in Animation Mentor Basics 1. And I would like to know how many hours a week should one spend on animating in school, practicing just in general?
For sure. I think honestly, like you have to figure out what you want to do and then kind of like deduce how you want to go about it. Because it's really hard to put a particular number of hours when you don't know what the shot is. Like if it's going to be super simple, you probably don't need that much time. But if it's like really heavy as far as, performance or crazy body mechanics,
Yeah.
you might need more time. And so it's a good idea to think like, how many frames am I working with? And then divide those to like how many hours do you think you can allocate? Maybe 2 hours. I think 2 hours is a good minimum for a day of animation. And then just like subdivide it then you can see how many days you need. And you probably will total up maybe 10 hours, maybe 12 hours that week. But some people might need more, some people might need less. But I think that's like a good metric to figure out where you need to be.
Okay, perfect.
As far as like self-study or practicing for a school.
Yeah, and that's definitely doable with a full-time job or if you have a child. Well,
absolutely. That's what I did when I was doing Mentor a decade ago. I was working at that game studio in Portland, Oregon. And I literally was living off of energy drinks. Like I would do my full-time job and then I would chug like I think it was a Rockstar back in the day. And I would do about 2 to 4 hours a night every single night because I wanted to like learn as much as I can and do as much as I could. I don't know if I recommend that now, but that's what I did.
That's a different level of dedication. I respect
exactly.
What are your best tips for handling rejection? Because in the animation industry with the career that we got going on, you got to be able to handle rejection at some point.
Totally. I feel like everybody, it doesn't matter what level you are, is going to get rejected at some point or another. And of course, it's going to hurt a lot more once you're out of school because you apply to that one job that you think you're going to get. It's like the studio you've dreamed about working for years, maybe, only to get a rejection letter in your email. And it sucks, but it doesn't mean that you are the failure. I feel like a lot of the times it's a timing issue. Sometimes studios just recruited enough people and they don't have any more space. So they say, okay, you know what, here's your rejection letter, but it doesn't mean you're bad. So I think it's more persistence. Like, and this kind of goes back to the point where I mentioned not putting all your eggs in one basket and just like send your reel out to everybody because you never know who's going to bite. But when you get that rejection letter, it's like, okay, cool. I got my rejection letter from Blizzard, DreamWorks, Disney, whatever. Try again. What are they going to say? No? Sure, they'll say no again, but then it takes that one time where they say yes, that just makes it worth it. So during that time, like while you're sending out your portfolio and getting rejection letters, just keep doing you, like keep living your life, keep working on your portfolio and don't just like stop working and think, man, I'm a failure because I got this one rejection letter. It's like, no,
Right.
keep going.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. We all get it. Like even the pros get rejection letters. So it's kind of, I think once you accept that fact, it's easier to like take the blow when you do get that
100.
rejection letter.
Yeah. And keep going. Yeah. Because I know it's
Yeah,
tough. Getting rejected is so hard, especially on something that you've always wanted and dreamed of. Oh my goodness. It breaks
for
my
sure.
heart. Yeah. But so again, I'm in school, and the assignments at hand that we're given, there's sometimes a no. Well, Animation Mentor is expresses to be creative. I always ask myself, should I just stick with the task at hand, or should I add something different, some creativity? Because I've been told by mentors before, you should just stick to the task at hand because you
Right.
should answer that first. So I just want to know your answer to that question, which is best, because I'm always stuck in between the two.
For sure. I feel like, if you give students that little bit of creative freedom, they're going to like go crazy with it. And I totally get it. We want to show what we can do. We're storytellers at the end of the day. We want to be able to show what we're made of and whatever. But I feel like when you don't stick to the guidelines, you actually don't do the assignment to its like full potential. You'll use up maybe half of your frame count, because that's why at school we have those 120 max frame counts, because if you want to be creative, you want to add more frames, and you will run out of time. There's literally no time to even finish the assignment if you give yourself extra 100 frames, 200 frames, whatever. And so if you, even with that small time frame, we see students all the time who will spend half of that frame budget, as we like to call it, on just performance that has nothing to do with the assignment of like someone sitting.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see that you can do the seating part, so later when it comes to the performance, you already got the mechanics down, so you can actually play with that more. But first we got to get the basic, like, can you make the character sit? Can you make the character walk or do a sidestep, before you can start sprinkling in the actual like performance of it all.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's like definitely stick to the bare minimum as far as creativity. If you want a character to like look around, don't have them look around for 2 seconds. You're eating up your whole frame budget. Just have them like glance. Takes what, 10 frames, 12 frames, and then do the actual assignment. So like really strip it down and stick to the guidelines. It's the best way to really propel yourself to move forward with it, instead of taking like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. I always get stuck because I see other people's work and I see, oh, they added 2 extra jumps. Oh, they added a flip. I'm like,
Yeah,
I want to do something cool like that. But then I come back, I'm like, I don't even know how to do the first task. So let me handle that first. And then I'll be able to hopefully add creativity. Which brings me to my next question. I compare myself a lot to other students. Do you have any advice on when you're comparing yourself and putting yourself down about it?
Yeah. I think there's this quote I heard a long time ago. It was called "Comparison is a thief of joy."
Oh,
And
yes.
if you try to compare yourself to anybody or everybody, you start to like feel less worthy, I guess, of yourself, and it just strips away from the fun of animation. And why would you do that? Animating is super fun, and why would you take that pleasure from the experience of having to animate? So I think the best thing to do, like if you see someone's shot, and people post their personal work all the time online, or even on the Animation Mentors like community tab, sometimes you'll see some cool stuff in there. Or even your classmates in general, or other classmates within the same program, you'll see some awesome stuff. Don't look at it and think, oh man, I can't do that, so I must suck. Like, no, just use that as a way to help you learn even further. Like, go in there and use in the website, you can frame by frame through other students' assignments. And when you do that, you can understand like, oh, maybe this is why the student got like a 4 or a 5 on their assignment, because of X, Y, and Z reasons. Watch their critiques, see what their mentors are saying, and use that for your own personal like development whenever you're animating or blocking a shot. You're like, oh yeah, that one person said this, so I'm going to try to incorporate it into whatever I'm doing. Just try not to like live in this world where like everyone's better than you, because you're not going to go far, but take everyone's work that they are, people's work who are better than yours, by all means, like, study the heck out of it, frame by frame, everything, like, understand how they're trying to do what they're trying to do, so that later you can incorporate it into your own work.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I didn't even think about watching other people's critiques. I watched their submissions frame.
I didn't notice that until the end of class 6 when I took Mentor. I'm like, man, I should have done this.
Yeah, I'm gonna start
way earlier than I should have. So
yeah,
it's a good tip.
So, what is one of your favorite projects that you have worked on so far? Please tell us your experience.
Okay, so I think
stories.
Yeah, I think for me personally, my end goal at the time was to work at Disney Animation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got there, I'm like, oh, this is great. I guess I know how to animate. So they brought me onto this project so I can, show them what I got. But I didn't know squat until I started like getting shots casted to me. And during Encanto, I got hired as a crowd animator.
Ooh.
But during that time, they also let the crowd people get shots to work on.
Okay.
So I remember getting a shot where there's some rats in Bruno's room, I guess, inside the house, and the rats had to do stuff. And from the layout, they weren't really doing anything. They're just sitting there being rats, but they wanted some personality. So I went in and I recorded my dog like rolling on the ground, and I used that as a reference for one of the rats laying on top of a comb.
Yeah.
And when I was working on that shot, I had a really awesome supervisor that like went in, did some drawovers for me, and really like explained how the spacing and the appeal of the shot could be pushed. And these were things I thought I would have known before coming into Disney. And then I had these people like that I looked up to from years and years and years of watching their portfolio online, giving me drawover notes and like explaining why things are the way that they are, as far as like how things are easing in and out, or how to push the character to be more on model, stuff like that. I learned so much from that movie and then the next 2 movies while I was there. But Encanto was like the one that really unlocked the key, I guess, to how to animate. So that was pretty wild. It is crazy how in animation, you're never going to stop learning. I've been animating since 2010 professionally. And I thought when I got to my dream studio back in the day, I thought I knew everything in order to get there, but no, they just took it to a whole new level. So yeah, not only was the movie really fun, like I personally love it. It's one of my top like 3 animation movies of all time, but they taught me like so much just about how to make appealing animation. So yeah, I keep that close to my heart.
Yeah, that's close to the heart. They get a soft spot. Wow, that's so fun. So speaking of working at just projects, how important is networking in the animation industry?
I think it is super, super important. If you don't have a LinkedIn, get one. It is incredibly useful. Even when I was at Mentor as a student, the people that were in my class, we were networking. We were talking to each other. We were critiquing each other's work before the Sunday deadline. And then these people, this is funny. I didn't know they were my classmates until I became a mentor, and I was just curious and looking at my old classes, and found out that some of the people that I worked with at my last studio were my classmates like 10 years ago. It was kind of wild. But these people that you meet, you'll add each other on LinkedIn, and then maybe one of them will say, hey, like we have a job posting, click on this link and put in my referral. I'll hook you up with a gig. And it's more common than you think. And honestly, like when I went to CTN, I met a lot of people, not only just animators and modelers, riggers, matte painters. I also met a lot of recruiters and animation supervisors and animation leads. Wow. You get into these conversations, you just chat, you get their contact info, add them on LinkedIn. And it's crazy how you'll meet a recruiter at one of these conventions, and they'll remember you because they'll remember seeing your demo reel, and then they'll maybe see it again a year later. Like, oh yeah, I remember that dude from CTN. And it's like, that's so wild that recruiters have like crazy memory. But
Yeah.
most of the jobs, even during my career, wasn't just from applying on the website. It was from people saying, hey, we're hiring, apply on the website, but use me as a reference, and then I'll talk to my animation lead about you. So like, it's super, super, super important. That's why it's really key to not be rude when you're in
I've heard
Animation
that a
Mentor.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be rude to your coworkers or your colleagues, not colleagues. What's that? Classmate. That's the word.
Yeah.
Don't be rude to your classmates during Animation Mentor, because you never know. These people might get jobs at your dream studio, and they might end up being leads or supervisors. And if you're rude to them during school, you're kind of hurting your chances getting that job that you really wanted. So networking, I feel like, is incredibly useful for what we do.
They tell us all the time in the beginning of class how important it is to network, and your classmates that you have right now, add them on Discord, add them on LinkedIn. Yep. And I hear so many stories about, yeah, I got this job because my friend told me about it who works there. I'm like, man, okay, so it's not a joke. This is very,
it's real.
It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So our last question is, and this is I always ask this question at the end of every interview. What is the best advice that you can give to animators just starting out or those who just finished school?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of info online, unfortunately. And I say that because there's a lot of stuff, like ever since, I think within the last decade, there's just people who think they know a lot about animation just coming online and saying, hey, I do this, join my course or whatever. And they don't really have all that knowledge, and they're only there to like get you, which is not really fun. So I think when you're going into this space, whether you get out of school or you're just starting and you don't know where to go, I think it's safe to say, like, find those communities where they're not out to get you. Like, I'm a huge fan of the Agora community, the Animation Mentor community. What else? There's one more. I'm not remembering what it is, unfortunately. But I would go to those places and create as much art as you can. I feel like if you're just working on your demo reel and you're applying for jobs and you're not doing anything in between, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I think it's a big thing where while you're applying for work or while you're trying to figure out where you want to go for a school or whatever, just start creating content. Make as much animation pieces so that you can show it to people and get feedback from those communities. And even when you get feedback, do the feedback and try again. And if it gets to the point where you don't finish, or you just like fed up with it and you want to give up, that's totally cool. Make something new and just keep going and going and going. I have like so many unfinished animations on my computer because I was just trying stuff out. And you learn a lot from those experiences, especially when you show it to people and you realize, okay, what I was trying to do is not working. Time to do something else. So I would definitely just keep making content. Go on YouTube and find channels of people showing you different workflows. Because I think if you're sticking to just one workflow, you might be digging yourself into a hole where you should be taking in as much information as far as like workflow and style, so that you can build up your arsenal, your animation repertoire. Some good ones are like Chester Sampson. He's amazing on YouTube. He has some great workflow demos that you can do and try out. If you really want to just study animation, there's a YouTube channel also called Frame by Frame that's in association, I believe, with Agora. And they just take, published content from movies, games, whatever, and they frame by frame and they analyze stuff. And that can help you like grow as an animator if you can see how people are breaking these things down to help you understand how to do that with your own work. So yeah, that's what I would do. It's just like go online, find those communities, create art, show them that art, get feedback, cycle repeats itself, and just learn. Take as much as you can. Take as much in as you can, because it really is a marathon. It's not a race. For me, like, it took me 12 years to get where I wanted to be. And some of my coworkers were able to get it within 3 to 6 months after either finishing school or dropping out of school. So it really depends on the person, like, take the time that it needs to take for you and you will get there. Yeah. But for sure, just don't stop creating content. Just make as much content as you can.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today and all the advice and your story, all the experiences that you told us. We really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Animator's Blueprint. Our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Animation Mentor for sponsoring our podcast. To show our appreciation, we invite you to visit animationmentor.com/podcast. Here you can download a complimentary animation ebook. It's packed with valuable insights for animators at every level. It's our gift to you for subscribing. Keep animating your world, and we'll see you in the next episode. Stay creative.